I first noticed her at Morris's wine bar on a quiet Wednesday evening, just after 7:30. The place wasn't busy, only a handful of customers scattered around the room in pairs and small groups. Like me, she sat alone. She occupied the stool at the far end of the bar, slowly sipping her drink. There was something unusual about her presence. Attractive, elegant, and seemingly lost in her own thoughts, she gazed toward the rows of bottles behind the counter as if the rest of the world didn't exist. Even now, I remember exactly what she was wearing. A soft blue blouse paired with a black skirt that revealed just enough to spark curiosity without appearing revealing. Black tights accentuated her long legs, and a pair of strappy heels completed the look. Her makeup was tasteful, carefully applied without being excessive. When she finished her drink, she quietly collected her handbag and left. My eyes followed her all the way to the door, though she never once noticed me. I was intrigued. Back then, Morris's was practically my second home. I stopped by several times a week, yet I didn't see her again until the following Wednesday. Once again, she took the same seat. This time she wore fitted jeans and a pink jacket, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. Just as before, she sat silently, staring ahead in quiet contemplation. Before I could gather the courage to introduce myself, she finished her drink and disappeared into the night. Over the next week, I prepared a plan. The following Wednesday, I arrived early and positioned myself only a few stools away from her usual place. Soon enough, she walked in and settled into her familiar spot. "Usual, Laura?" Maurice, the bartender, asked. She nodded. He poured her drink and placed a small bottle and glass in front of her. "180, please." Laura thanked him softly, paid with exact change, and carefully tucked her purse back into her bag. Everything she did seemed measured and deliberate. As she sipped her drink, I wrestled with my nerves. My hands felt damp. My heart pounded. I wanted to say hello, buy her a drink, learn why she always appeared so distant and alone. But once again, I hesitated too long. She finished her drink, stood up, and left. I watched her walk out into the car park. "Don't get too excited," Maurice said casually after the door closed behind her. I looked at him. "It's a guy." The words didn't register at first. "What do you mean?" "Laura's transgender," he explained. "That's why she likes that particular seat. She can keep an eye on her reflection in the mirror behind the bar." I sat there stunned. Yet strangely, the revelation didn't diminish my interest. If anything, it deepened my curiosity. The following week, instead of sitting inside waiting, I parked in the car park and watched for her arrival. Right on schedule, a small blue Nissan pulled in. From my car, I saw her checking her makeup in the mirror before stepping out. She moved with confidence and grace. It was difficult to reconcile Maurice's words with the woman I saw before me. After she entered the bar, I remained outside long enough to note the car's registration number before eventually heading inside myself. The next day, I contacted an old school friend who worked as a police officer. Through him, I managed to obtain the registered owner's details. The name attached to the vehicle was Simon Gray. Curiosity quickly became obsession. Within days, I had confirmed the address and even driven past the property. Eventually I saw the blue Nissan emerge from the garage, with Laura behind the wheel. Every answer only seemed to generate more questions. For days, I debated what to do next. Finally, I decided to call. When someone answered, it was a man's voice. "Can I speak to Laura?" I asked. There was a pause before he called out for her. Moments later, a softer voice came on the line. "You don't know me," I began nervously, "but my name is David Turner." The conversation stumbled awkwardly forward. I hadn't planned what to say. Somehow, I found myself asking for her help with something entirely unrelated to what I had intended. To my surprise, she didn't immediately hang up. Instead, she listened. By the end of the call, she promised to think about it. I didn't expect to hear from her again. But on Wednesday evening, just before I left for Morris's, the phone rang. "David." It was Laura. She sounded nervous. "I might be willing to help," she said. "But I don't know you." We arranged a cautious meeting. I was not to approach her inside the wine bar. I was not to speak to her. 5 minutes after she left, I was to come outside to the car park. If she was still there, it meant she was willing to continue the conversation. If not, everything was over. That evening, I arrived early, dressed in my best clothes, trying desperately to calm my nerves. When Laura entered, she looked as beautiful as ever. She took her usual seat. Maurice served her usual drink. 4:15 agonizing minutes, I watched the clock. Then she stood up and left. No glance. No smile. No signal. Nothing. I waited. 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. 4 minutes and 45. Finally, unable to wait any longer, I headed toward the exit. I pushed through the doors and stepped into the cool evening air. And there, beneath the glow of the car park lights, sat the blue Nissan. Waiting. I walked around to the passenger side of the car, opened the door, and climbed in. A faint scent of perfume lingered in the air. "Hi," I said nervously. "I'm David." She smiled softly in the dim light. "Hi," she replied. "I'm Laura." After a brief conversation, Laura explained that helping me explore a more feminine appearance would require clothing, makeup, accessories, and other essentials. She estimated the initial cost, and after some hesitation, I agreed. As we drove to my house, she admitted that she had done some research about me beforehand. "A person in my position has to be careful," she explained. "I wanted to make sure you were someone I could trust." Although surprised by her thoroughness, I understood her concerns. Once we arrived, I helped her carry a suitcase inside. Over coffee, we talked about our lives, insecurities, and the reasons people sometimes struggle to express who they truly are. Laura spoke openly about her own journey. "There were years when I tried to ignore this side of myself," she admitted. "But eventually I realized I was happiest when I stopped pretending and allowed myself to be authentic." Her honesty made it easier for me to open up about my own uncertainties. Soon, she began helping me with the transformation. She showed me various clothing items, explained how different garments worked, and patiently guided me through each step. What started as nervous curiosity gradually became fascination. As the evening progressed, she helped me choose an outfit, style a wig, and apply makeup. She paid close attention to every detail, offering advice and encouragement along the way. When everything was finished, I finally looked in the mirror. The reflection staring back at me was almost unrecognizable. For a moment, I simply stood there in silence. "You look wonderful," Laura said warmly. I laughed nervously, still trying to process what I was seeing. The entire experience felt surreal. The clothes, the hairstyle, the makeup, everything combined to create a version of myself I had never imagined. As the evening grew late, Laura packed up some of her things and prepared to leave. "I'll stop by again on Friday," she said. "We can continue then." Before leaving, she offered a reassuring hug and wished me good night. After she drove away, I remained standing in front of the mirror for several minutes, studying my reflection. Instead of immediately changing back into my usual clothes, I spent the rest of the evening exploring this unfamiliar side of myself. For the first time, I felt a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and anticipation. The next evening after work, I found myself eager to experiment further. Although I still had much to learn, I was beginning to enjoy the process. And as Friday approached, I couldn't help looking forward to seeing Laura again.